My name is Suzanne Ross from the Raven Foundation, and we recently had a chance to take a group to see a performance of the Arabian Nights at the Looking Glass Theater in Chicago. If you have a chance to go see that show before it closes on August 9th, I highly urge you to do it. And if you can't see the show, please buy a copy of Mary Zimmerman's play, The Arabian Nights, the play. The reason I'm urging you to do this is because seeing this play in the context of what's happening in Iran this summer with the protests against the election results, and in particular trying to understand the importance of the image of the death of the young woman Neda Agha-Soltan, whose death was captured on video and is seen around the world. To understand those events, seeing the Arabian Nights puts it in a context that really opened my eyes to what the culture of Iran has to teach us, and perhaps we in the West need to take a more humble approach to Iran rather than thinking about what we have to teach them. We might look to see what wisdom they have for us. So just briefly to give you a summary of the plot of the Arabian Nights. It's a story of the transformation of a sultan from being a tyrant to being a compassionate ruler. And what happens to him is that his wife betrays him. He kills her and her lover instantly. And in his grief and in his wounded pride and sense of betrayal, he marries a new woman every day, and at night kills her. He's able to do this because of this self-deceitful narrative he's telling about himself, that he, the virtuous man, has been betrayed by unvirtuous woman. And this narrative enables him to see all women as monsters and deserving of death, and it prevents him from seeing that what he's doing is not in any way an act of justice, but is in fact murder, night after night. And this goes on for 3 years until he takes as a bride the woman named Scheherazade, who, with the Sultan's sword at her throat, is able to stay his violence by telling him stories. And these are stories about a just ruler who pardons his storytellers. They're stories that give him a new narrative to tell about women, stories about women who are beautiful and wise and full of self-sacrificing love, and she tells him narratives about men caught up in their own pride, who mistake these wonderful women for monsters and who dismiss them as if they're irrelevant and don't exist. So with story after story over 1,001 nights, he slowly begins to see that the truth of the life he's been living, and that there is no justice in the murder of women. Now, I'm telling you this story because I think that this narrative, which goes back to ancient Persia, before it was Iran, before there was even Islam, helps us understand the symbol of Neda's death in this culture. I mean, the Iranian people are formed by this narrative about a tyrant who justifies the killing of women. Islam itself teaches the faithful to abhor the killing of civilians. And it insists that if you take one life, it's as if you've taken every life on the planet. So Neda, whose name means voice, is now being called the voice of Iran. And I'm wondering if perhaps her story has tragically become one of the 1,001 stories that may stay the violence of the tyrant, if only for a little while. At the end of Arabian Nights, the Sultan says, "Scheherazade, marvelous girl, you have lifted the veil from my eyes." And he is transformed. And certainly Neda's story has lifted the veil from my eyes and from the eyes of the world, I think, as we watch and understand and begin to see the Iranian people very clearly as human beings and not as monsters or people that we can dismiss and leave to their fate. And I guess I want to close by saying that the world joins the people of Iran in the hope that their leaders may find the courage to say, Neda, marvelous girl, you have lifted the veil from our eyes. Thank you.